call the August 17th, 2020 Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:45 PM. First on the agenda, the Senior Center Endowment Board update. Can we get the Finance Director's report, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. At the July 6th, 2021 Finance Committee meeting, the staff provided an update on the Senior Center Solar Panel Project and requested an extension to repay the $56,000 from the Riverton Senior Center to the solar panel project cost due to funding shortages. The committee granted an extension of the repayment on August 10th, or they granted the extension of the repayment to August 10th, excuse me. On August 11th, at the regular meeting of the Endowment Board, the Senior Center advised the board that they were still waiting to receive their funding. This morning, I received an email from Executive Director Lori Weber that they'd received notification from the state that the funding was approved and in the budget office waiting for processing. And I was able to verify through the state's online vendor payment system that there has been a check issued for those funds. So they should be arriving any day, and the Senior Center will promptly make that payment as soon as they receive their check. So just thought I'd give you an update on that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of claims.
Madam Chair, I move that we consider the payment of claims to be paid in the amount of $322,078.42. The Elon credit card in the amount of $8,181.08. A manual check in the amount of $3,000. Payroll liabilities for July 29th and July 30th in the amount of $386,899.09. for a total of $720,158.59.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Paranto, second by Councilwoman Salisbury. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion pass, or any opposed? Sorry, motion pass. Is there anything other to discuss?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Nothing, Your Honor.
There being no other business, I'll adjourn at 6:47.
I now call the August 17th, 2021 regular council meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Councilwoman Borders will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll give us the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for the opportunity to meet this evening in this land of America. And we're grateful for the blessings that we enjoy. At this time, we pause and ask for thy blessings to be with our military and with the American citizens that are in Afghanistan, that they might have thy assistance to be able to find refuge and to find access out of that location. We ask you to watch over our military, that they might be kept from harm. We ask you to watch over the Afghan people, that they might also have as much support from thee as possible. We're grateful for the many blessings that we enjoy in this land and for the opportunity of free agency and for the ability to choose and to be part of a democracy. We ask for safety for our law enforcement officers and for the military and for the people that are on our borders, both north and south. We ask for thy continuous guidance here in the city of Riverton, that we might do things that thou would have us do, that we might be helpful and supportive of our citizens, and that we might be able to expand the rule of law, that we might do a good job of representing that and hold to a conscious of the things that we should do that would be honorable among men. We ask for these many favors and blessings and recognize thy hand in all things, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the city clerk please conduct a roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Dean Peranto.
Here.
Councilwoman Lindsay Cox.
Here.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Here.
Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilwoman Christy Salisbury.
Here.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Here. I declare a quorum is present. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders has the motion. Councilman Bailey has the second. Council discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding any item that is scheduled for a public hearing will be given the opportunity to speak during that public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the council on any other item may speak now. I would ask those individuals who would like to address the council at this time if they would approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, August 3rd, 2021, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, August 17th, 2021, Finance Committee meeting. Approval of the Finance Committee recommendations for August 17th, 2021. And approval of the municipal court report for the month of July, 2021.
Are there any items requiring further discussion?
Your Honor, the Finance Committee met earlier this evening and approved the consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $322,078.42, Elon credit card in the amount of $8,181.08, manual check in the amount of $3,000, payroll and liabilities for July 29th, 2021 and July 30th, 2021 in the amount of $386,899.09 for a total of $720,158.59.
Thank you. Appreciate that. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda item as presented.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to abstain from any vote for the payment of warrants to Traveling Computers or Wyoming.
Okay.
And I'll abstain from any Bailey Enterprises line items.
Okay.
And I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has the motion. Councilman Peranto has the second. Any further discussion from the council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Edge Committee appointment, David Jost. Dave's with us. Could you stand up so we could all see how tall you are? David has been a real asset to the city of Riverton, and we're glad to have him. And the Edge Committee, he'll go on the Edge Committee if you approve his appointment to be an alternate. And so I would present him for that mayoral appointment to the Edge Committee. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Carla, Councilman Borders has the motion and Councilman Bailey has the second. Council discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Public hearing and consideration of fireworks permit application for the Riverton High School. City Clerk's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mayor and council, before you tonight for your consideration is the annual fireworks permit application submitted by the Riverton High School Activities Director, which is seeking approval to detonate a cannon at the Riverton High School home football games. The conditions of the permit application have been completed, and should you have any questions, Mr. Miller is in attendance at tonight's public hearing as required by code. Based on the information provided through the application process, staff recommends approval of the fireworks permit application as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders has the motion and Councilwoman Cox has a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I now declare a public hearing open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statute and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record.
Seeing none, Your Honor, I would move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has the motion to close, and Councilwoman Borders has the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the firework permit application for the Riverton City,
So moved.
excuse me, for Riverton High School.
So
The
moved.
city- The city's not going to shoot the cannon. That's a shame. We should change that.
You want a real cannonball, though.
Maybe we could change that so that we could enjoy that ourselves. I suppose it's for the Riverton High School, so I need a motion. Did somebody
So
jump in?
moved.
And second.
So Lindsay,
Lindsay's got it. Thank you. Councilwoman Cox has the motion and Councilwoman Borders has the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. My only comment is I hope we shoot it a lot. We appreciate you coming. It's great. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks,
for
Reggie.
doing that for us. Item 11 is consideration of an agreement for temporary waiver for the Riverton Municipal Code 13.20.210 for property located at 1220 East Monroe Avenue. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I do want to note that the property owner in question is in the audience today. That's Janet Connard, and we're grateful to have her here with her husband. Janet recently contacted the city about the opportunity to connect buildings at her property at 1220 East Monroe to city sewer. That property is a little over 7 acres, and there are several structures. 2 of those structures are currently connected to the wastewater utility and have their own individual building sewers, or building lateral, to use another term. Mrs. Connard would like to connect 2 more buildings onto the wastewater utility. City staff has spent some time to investigate this request, and one thing that we've denoted is that the main that would be connected for these two additional buildings is an 18-inch clay line. It's the main interceptor that runs down MONROE to the treatment plant. And because of the difficulty to tap this line and the amount of load and capacity on that line, we've determined that it would be in the best interest of the city and also the property owner to present this temporary waiver to you as a council for consideration. To get into the specifics, Riverton Municipal Code 132210 requires that a separate and independent building sewer be installed for every building connected to the wastewater utility. For the reasons I've just denoted, we feel as staff that it would be in the best interest to utilize the two existing building sewers in order to connect the two additional buildings that currently don't have sewer. Section 1320.040B allows city staff with the approval of city council to promulgate rules and regulations in order to implement the intent of Chapter 1320 of the Municipal Code. The agreement has been in your packet for your review, but I'll just highlight a few of these points. They are, the city will allow Conard to connect 1380 East Monroe Avenue and 1550 East Monroe Avenue to the wastewater utility via temporary building sewers connected to existing building sewers at 1220 East Monroe and 1540 East Monroe. All costs for the temporary lines will be at the responsibility of the property owner, and that the property owner shall install individual separate building sewers from the two proposed buildings upon the following conditions, and whichever occurs earlier. If one or both of the existing building sewers at 1220 East Monroe and 1540 East Monroe fail and need to be replaced, if the sewer interceptor, that main line down Monroe, needs to be replaced, if there is insufficient capacity in one or both of the existing building sewers that will serve both the buildings, basically if there is insufficient capacity, I lost my train there. And then finally, when East Monroe is reconstructed. The terms in the agreement are binding upon the successors, heirs, and assigns of the properties and shall run with the land. With that, city staff does recommend that we grant this temporary waiver of municipal code under the conditions stated in the agreement and explained in brief to you as council.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agreement between the city of Riverton and Janet Connor and Dale Skaggs for a temporary waiver of 13.20.210.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has the motion. Councilman Peranto has a second. Council discussion.
Do we know what volume this is going to increase? I mean, by usage, we got 10 people, 20 people, 500 people? Do we know?
Your Honor, the buildings will have, from what we've understood, and I definitely would refer to Janet for more specifics, but it will be a low usage, basically a bathroom. It's mostly going to be a large storage building, from what I understand. So the volume produced from the building that will be connected to the existing building sewer will be low enough that from our analysis, the existing building sewer can accommodate it.
So the water usage will go up, reflecting the bathroom usage. So it should be insignificant. Thank you.
Well, there's contingencies put on that, so if the capacity grows, and it's in the agreement, that if there would be a reason for that to be larger than what would work, that it would need to be addressed. But at this time, it's at that level. So. Any other discussion?
I just have one question because I don't maybe understand, but what does a temporary mean? Why is it what is that?
Your Honor, Councilwoman, basically what we're talking about is the temporary connection from the building that's not connected to the sewer. We're going to run a temporary line to an existing building sewer, or building lateral is often what we call it as well. So that's the line that would be temporary. At such time when either that 18-inch interceptor is replaced or the other conditions referenced, the temporary line would be abandoned and a new line would be provided direct to the city sewer main.
I just was like, why is it going away? But now I, okay. Okay.
So the agreement is so that we don't have, the pipe that we have is old. And so we're really gonna tie two sewer lines together, which you can't do that by code unless you get this waiver.
Okay.
So it really is, that's what we're doing, is tying two sewer lines together. And as soon as any of those items are triggered, then they'll go back to single sewers.
Your Honor, maybe clarification, it's temporary in the sense that it's temporary in time, not necessarily temporary in that the materials, as Ms. Conard mentioned, will be poured. They will be installing cleanouts. They'll also have elder valves, and so it'll be a good sewer lateral, just temporary in time.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Consideration of ordinance number 21-011 on third and final reading, cruelty to animals. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-011 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-011 on third and final reading. An ordinance amending Title VI, Animals, to revise Chapter 6.04, Animals Generally, amending Section 6.04.005, Definitions, and 6.04.050, Cruelty to Animals Generally, of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 21-011 on third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has the motion. Carla, that was you, wasn't it?
Yes.
Councilman Borders has the second. Any discussion? Would the city clerk please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Dean Pronto.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay Cox.
Aye.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Aye.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Christy Salisbury.
Aye.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Aye. Motion passes. Consideration of ordinance number 21-012 on third and final reading, animal control. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-012 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-012 on third and final reading. An ordinance amending Title VI, Animals, to revise Chapter 6.08, Dogs and Cats, amending Section 6.08.040, Vicious and Dangerous Dogs, and 6.08.130, Duty of Animal Control Officer, of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-012 on third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Peranto has the motion. Councilwoman Cox has a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, would the city clerk please conduct roll call vote?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Dean Pronto.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay Cox.
Aye.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Aye.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Christy Salisbury.
Aye.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Aye. Motion passes. Consideration of ordinance number 21-013 on third and final reading, animal ownership. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-013 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-013 on third and final reading. An ordinance amending Title VI, Animals, to revise Chapter 6.08, Dogs and Cats, establishing Section 6.08.040C, Vaccination and Rabies Control, animal bites. 6.08.050, public safety measures. 6.08.035, reckless animal owner. 6.08.055, continuation of dangerous or vicious animal declaration. And 6.08.065, neglect of the Riverton Municipal Code and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-013 on third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Cox has the motion. Councilwoman Borders has the second. Any further discussion? Would the city clerk please conduct roll call vote?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Dean Pronto.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lizzie Cox.
Aye.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Aye.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Christy Salisbury.
Aye.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Aye. Motion passes. Consideration of lease agreement for 307 Chariot and Cutter races. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. As you remember, on July 20th, 2021, the 307 Chariot Group came and presented to the council requesting use of public land for their proposed activities, which would be the regular conductance of chariot races and Calcutta races. From that meeting and direction from council, we've prepared a lease agreement for your review and consideration. Again, the property is at the corner of Highway 26 and Paradise Valley Road, across the street from the current motocross racing area. It's 86 acres, and again, it was depicted in your packet for your review. In brief, the lease agreement covers the following. The premises shall be used for the express purpose of constructing, maintaining, and utilizing the premises for horse-drawn chariot races and other equestrian-related activities. The premises shall not be used for commercial or private gain. The lessee shall operate and identify the premises for public outdoor purposes and not permit that the premises be used for any purpose that would be contrary to federal, state, or local laws. The lessee at its sole expense shall pay all costs associated with the construction of buildings and improvements for their use. The lessee shall maintain the property in good condition and the buildings or improvements that they construct. The lessee shall secure and pay the cost for any permits from the state, the feds, or from the city as part of their operation. This is also to include anything that would impact Central Wyoming Regional Airport and federal aviation navigation easements. Along those lines, the city reserves the right for the right of flight passage above this property, as that's an approach pathway for runway 1028. The city has no maintenance obligation under this agreement. It's solely upon the 307 Chariot and Calcutta Group. The term of the lease is for 5 years with 2 optional 5-year periods of renewal, and the lease payment for the property is $1 per year. That is consistent with what we charge the Fremont Racing Group. In addition to the bullets I've outlined, there is a requirement that the lessee take out an insurance policy. That is a general aggregate insurance policy of $2 million and a personal injury policy at $1 million, and that the said policies would list the city as additional insured. This is consistent with other lease agreements we have, whether they be at the airport or hangars, whether they be with our recreation groups like softball and Little League. The limits of the insurance were discussed with and the $2 million and $1 million policy was what was recommended by our attorney. There's no budget impact in approving this lease agreement, since revenues generated by the lease are negligible, and that the city is not responsible for any expenses associated with the operation or construction of the facility. I had opportunity to speak with Ms. Kugler yesterday and then also today. She is working currently on securing quotes for insurance providers for the premises. And she's still determining if that's something that is palatable for their group. And I respect her in the sense that she wants to make sure that this is something they take on and take on wholeheartedly before executing the lease. With that, we recommend that the city approve this lease agreement for 307 Chariot in Calcutta. And I would stand for any questions if you have any.
Kyle?
I don't see any, after the term of the lease is completed, do they return it to what it was? I mean, we've got a indentation, we've got buildup, we've got a lot. How do we get, I don't want another water park. How do we, where's the deposit for rectification?
Your Honor, Councilman, that's addressed in paragraph 11A and 11B, and then also in 12A, in brief, at the expiration of the lease, or if the lease is terminated, or if the lessee is in default, or if the city's in default, all improvements shall be removed at the cost of the lessee. If they are not removed, title of those improvements or any assets revert to the city of Riverton.
So there is no security deposit?
Your Honor, there is no security deposit in this lease.
What are you talking about? There's a whole dollar.
Well, last time I looked, that dollar doesn't go very far on landfilling.
Who gets the dollar? Mia?
City.
All money goes to Mia.
I think Kyle has a good point, and I think the contract is the MOU is probably correct in the way it's stated. We don't look forward to failure, but what Kyle's trying to point out is if we end up with a bunch of old buildings, the Peterson Downs, I think, still has an old structure on it. And so who's responsible to the removal of that? And I think if they're responsible, they'll take down those structures just like it says in the MOU. Or we might find this is getting to be a real opportunity in my mind, because not only are they using this same area, but it's right across the highway from the motocross. And we're working on a modeler's agreement to get them up in the same proximity. And so we could have a lot of real fun action happening within close proximity. But I think Councilman Larson's thought process runs to the end of the road of where we get rid of that. And I guess my hope is that we don't have to get rid of it. If we do, I think we need to make sure and press upon those individuals that they have the responsibility to take care of those buildings. Would you like to make some type of amendment, Councilman Larson, for a down payment? There's no structures there, and I don't know.
All they have to do is put in a bond, some type of bond, performance bond.
So,
And I'm not trying to put cold water on the fire, that this isn't a great opportunity and a wonderful thing. But, you know, there's a lot of rah-rah going on. And then at the end of the street, we hold the piece of empty and bag, and and the city is responsible. Of course, that would be maybe a good project for our firefighters too, you know.
yeah, we could have a controlled burn or something. So I don't want to risk losing our $1. And when Kyle said there's not going to be any budget impact, that $1 can do something. Not exactly sure what, but I think this is a real good idea, and I don't see a negative to it. I think Kyle's right that they need to have it impressed upon them, and maybe there is a bond of low cost. When we get back to this, these are all donated dollars coming out of our community by our community members, and so we don't want to have an eyesore. And yet we don't want to make it so that they aren't able to make something work. So, Kyle, could you look into that for us? If that's something that you could add to it, would you please do it?
Your Honor, I just had a quick question. Being that that's a safety zone, had occasion to fly over it after our last meeting, and I kind of looked down and thought about it. Years ago, there was an aircraft that crashed into a pole kind of at that house that's kind of straight off the departure end of 28. And I'm just curious of noise abatement, if there are any concerns with horses and aircraft noise and things like that, or if they've thought about it.
Your Honor, Councilman, I'm not sure if they've thought of that. They were previously in that location next to the motocross, but as far as noise from aircraft, I'm not sure they've addressed that.
You just think if they're racing or something and something flies overhead. I was just a question that occurred to me as I was making noise flying over that parcel. Like, wonder if horses would care. Maybe they don't.
Isn't there easements on all of that property surrounding the airport?
Is there what?
Easements, noise easements, abatements. In other words, when you buy property up there adjacent to the airport, there's an easement there that you can't come back and say, oh my God, there's an airport next to my house. There's an easement there.
I don't, Kyle, do you have knowledge of that?
Your Honor, we do have avigation easements that are in that area to protect airspace. I couldn't answer definitively about the noise easements.
And I think, don't we all remember when the Denver moved its airport, and it was because all of the new housing moved in on the airport, and then claimed that, gee, we really don't
I
like
didn't
it.
realize there was an airport next to me when I moved there, yeah.
So I don't know that we can control that from this position that we sit in, but I think it's a good point to point out that, a runaway team of horses can be sparked by almost anything.
Just a
And so,
question.
and cutter racing is long from safe, so it doesn't come with training wheels, and so I think those kind of things could
Your
happen.
riding is training wheels. That's all you have.
They do have wheels, just no training wheels. So those are all good suggestions, but I think the nature of the business is a little bit inherent to that. So unless somebody wants to make an amendment, we're going to approve the MOU as it stands. We would just give you the guidance to enhance that as you go along to make sure that those individuals know that those properties are theirs. And we have that all over. The motocross up there has, done the same thing. And so I think Councilman Larson's point is well taken. The chair would entertain a motion to enter an agreement between the city of Riverton and 307 Chariot and Cutter Races.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has the motion. Councilwoman Cox has the second. Council discussion.
I think it's a great idea.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Consideration of ordinance number 21-015 on second reading, council concurrence of senior staff appointment practice. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-015 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-015 on second reading, an ordinance amending Title II, Administration and Personnel, Chapter 2.04, Mayor and Council, Section 2.04.110, Chapter 2.10, City Administrator, Sections 2.10.020, 2.10.030, 2.10.040, and 2.10.060. Chapter 2.12, City Clerk, Sections 2.12.010 and 2.12.030B. Chapter 2.13, Finance Director, Sections 2.13.010 and 2.13.030A. Excuse me, Your Honor, I'm reading the wrong title. Can I start over?
I wish you didn't have to.
I know, sorry.
It's hard on you.
I'll try that
Yes,
again.
that'd be great.
Okay. I thought I deleted those, so yeah, okay, anyways. We'll read that again. Proposed ordinance number 21-015 on second reading, an ordinance amending Title II, Administration and Personnel, Chapter 2.04, Mayor and Council, Section 2.04.110, Chapter 2.10, City Administrator, Sections 2.10.020, 2.10.030, 2.10.040, and 2.10.060. Chapter 2.12, City Clerk, Section 2.12.010, Chapter 2.13, Finance Director, Section 2.13.010, Chapter 2.20, Community Development Director, Sections 2.20.010 and 2.20.020F, Chapter 2.24, Public Works Director, Sections 2.24.010 and 2.24.030, Chapter 2.28, Chief of Police, Sections 2.28.010, 2.28.070, and 2.28.110, and establishing Sections 2.04.026 and 2.04.027, and repealing Sections 2.12.020, 2.13.020, and 2.28.050 of the Riverton Municipal Code and providing for additional duties and responsibilities of the governing body, and repealing all ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-015 on second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Paranto has the motion, Councilman Bailey has the second. Further discussion?
I only found one typo. Under section 16, the word follow should be plural.
And I was following along under the Development Director section, the last one that has A and F. Do you have A and F in your section? I only heard A. It could be my bad ears. I only heard F.
Should just be F.
Should just be F. I have AF on mine.
It should just be F.
Okay.
I'll make
I'll
sure.
scratch mine. Thank you. That's hard reading. You do a wonderful job of it. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed, say no. Motion passes. Here is the excitement of the night, quarterly fiscal report. Finance Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm glad to hear that you're excited to hear my report tonight. All right. All right, it's hard to believe that we're already into August, so we need to present to you the year-end fiscal health report for the year ending June 30th, 2021. The governing body approved a fiscal year budget totaling $26,387 and some change. I thought I'd start with a funny. Well, I finished the project on time and on budget, and that means I'd given you too much money, or too much time and too much money. So we'll start with the general fund, of course. The general fund is the primary operating fund of the city. The total funds budgeted for the general fund for last fiscal year was $8,081,122, and the staff was very conservative in our budgetary planning. This was a decrease of 28% from the previous fiscal year's budget. So the amounts that we reference on the slide are the revenues and the expenditures, including both operational and capital, as well as any budget transfers. So the big news is that the close of the quarter expenditures exceeded our revenues exceeded our expenditures by $2.4 million this last year. City staff budgeted transfers of $320,000 from reserves for operations, and because of the receipt of unanticipated revenues, we did not transfer any money from reserves for operations this year. So, wow, $2.4 million. What the heck? So this is just an overview, a snapshot of what some of the big items were that contributed to the $2.4 million savings. The first one is obviously that we received the American Rescue Plan Act funding from the state and the federal government, and that's $934,139 that we were not expecting to receive. We will receive another tranche of that late this year as well. City staff is still working with WAM and the state governor's office in terms of how we can spend that money. We do have several years to spend the money, but for now they are heeding caution in us spending anything until a final ruling has been made on how we can spend it and what we can spend it on. So for now, that money is sitting in our city coffers and will remain there until we make some budgeting decisions. We also conservatively estimated our sales and use tax for last fiscal year, and we ended up $893,000 over our budgetary projections for sales and use tax. We also received a reimbursement from the Wyoming Department of Transportation for the Eastern Shoshone Business Park Detention Pond project that was actually closed in the prior fiscal year. This was just funding that did not make it into the city coffers until after the year closed. So it wasn't budgeted for this year, it was budgeted for last year. We also received an additional $74,000 in CARES Act federal stimulus funding. And then also our supplemental funding, we received an additional $49,000 above what we budgeted for that. So the revenues were $2.1 million. We also saw a savings in our expenditures for our capital projects because there was $281,000 that we had budgeted for capital that we did not expend in the year. Now, that being said, as you remember from our conversation adopting this year's budget, that a lot of these monies we are going to carry over into this next fiscal year and use that for spending. So this next slide is the airport fund. The airport fund total budget is $1,775,000 and some change. Of that figure, $1.1 million is allocated for capital purchases and improvements. And the airport closed this year with a deficit balance of $221,000. We won't be scared by that number. The city was awarded a 4-year grant in excess of $1,056,000 in federal CARES Act funding to offset the cost for operations. And the staff received reimbursements of $402,000 this year, but there are outstanding reimbursements, and at the close of the fiscal year, those total just over $260,000. So while we see a deficit, we also have funding that will be coming in to cover that this year. The airport fund also realized $185,000 for the sale of property this year as well. So, and that is included in this figure that you see here. Okay, the total budget for the water fund is $7,824,000, and this was a $2.8 million increase, 69.1% over last fiscal year. And that was necessary to complete the Riverton water supply project, which has been an ongoing project since 2009. Files and files of project documentation on this. The city staff budgeted $4.2 million to complete the project, and $3.2 million was grant and loan funding, and then the remaining balance was to be funded from the cash and reserves. So the total amount budgeted from cash and reserves for capital was $1,125,000. While the budget reflects a deficit balance, and you can see that on the slide, of $559,000 at the close of the year, the city's obligation to pay the project was fully offset with our cash that we had available in the water fund, and the staff did not make any transfers from the reserves. We do closely monitor the cash in all of our funds, and in this case, the balance at the close of the year reflects a 22% decrease from this same period last year. However, it's only 3% below our 5-year average that we keep in that fund. So there is enough cash to safely operate. We can safely cover our operational expenditures, and we are preserving both capital and operational reserves. The next fund is the wastewater fund. The total budget was $2.3,337,000, and our revenues did exceed our expenditures by $522,000 in the wastewater fund, which is probably the healthiest we've seen the wastewater fund in a while. However, the receipts came in only at 1% over our projections, so we were only off $18,000 in our $2 million budget. Most of the surplus in this fund is due to the savings for capital projects. We had several capital projects budgeted in this fund for improvements to our aging wastewater system. It's the treatment plant particularly. And the budget reflects that there's minimal spending in capital projects, and it was largely just due to the lack of equipment and supply availability in the market. So a lot of those projects we've rolled over into this fiscal year, and we will be spending the funds that way as well. So that's that with the wastewater fund. The sanitation fund, the total budget for the sanitation fund was $2,533,000 at the end of the year. Revenues underpaced expenditures by $26,000, so we ended up with a deficit balance in the sanitation fund. The large variance this year is the result of the funds received from our insurance company to help replace the tub grinder and the truck lost in last year's fire. The sanitation fund did incur an unbudgeted expense of $599,280 to replace the tub grinder unit and then purchase a used tractor. Further, the unbudgeted sanitation truck has been ordered. The budgeted sanitation truck has been ordered, but it has not arrived yet. And so we have budgeted to pay for that in this fiscal year, this year's budget as well. And then the last fund to report on is the Airline Minimum Revenue Guarantee Fund, and it's kind of our sleeper fund this year. I mean, it's had a lot of attention over previous fiscal years, and it's just been really quiet. United has been operating well, and we've been doing well with the state in terms of that account. So the Air Service Fund is primarily funded by the City of Riverton, Lander, and then other local entities. The city also receives reimbursement from the state of Wyoming, and beginning this fiscal year, funding for air service support will also come from the recently passed half-cent sales tax. So we're invoiced quarterly from WYDOT, and at the close of the year, the city had paid $224,723 to WYDOT for air service. And as of today, we haven't received our fourth quarter invoice yet, so we haven't paid that. At the close of the fiscal year, the air service budget reflects a positive balance of about $162,000. And ladies and gentlemen, I must warn you that when I come to hammer out the budget details, I do not fool around. Hopefully you all recognize this as MC Hammer. Don't hammer. We're hammering out the budget.
Yeah.
So I'd stand for any questions that anyone may have.
That's a good report. We appreciate all the work that you pour into that. Extremely positive. Anybody have any comments, questions?
No. I know how much work goes into putting that together. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
That $1 should help you a bunch here.
It's going to throw the numbers way off.
Don't waste that.
I thought we did pretty good projecting our wastewater budget, just our revenue receipts just to 18. We were really close last year also, so that's nice.
Thanks, Mia. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
There are a lot of cities that would give there for a positive. Flint, Michigan, just Detroit, just a few.
We're really blessed to have the revenues that we do have and the care that takes care of them. So thanks to all staff. I think that's I get the opportunity to sit in the staff meeting, and it's not an easy thing, but all of the staff is helpful in that process, and they do a wonderful job with that. And there's lots of checks and balances that we have to go through to make sure that the money goes in the right spots, and we're fortunate to have that. So that concludes the items that are on our agenda. We're now down to reports and comments. And Kyle, would you start us off on council roundtable?
First off, I'm really feel good about the presented budget results from last year. $2,338,000 is spectacular, especially when we were thinking we were going into the great abyss. Secondly, Main Street is looking very nice. Unfortunately, I think it's either the 17th or the 19th. It's the 19th. They're going to start tearing up the other side. So people will be relegated to driving down Main Street again on 2 lanes. I wish that they take their time and be safe. Secondly, the meeting that normally occurs, Waste Management, was postponed until the 23rd of next week, so I have nothing to report on the Waste Management of Fremont County for the city of Riverton. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Christie?
We had a brief meeting with the chamber, elected new officers. Kim Hummel is the president. Bethany Valdez is a new member who will be the vice president, and Herb Wilcox will continue on as treasurer. And then Michelle Luoma is the new member as well.
Super.
So, and we're excited for finalizing all this stuff with our new director, so.
Anything else?
Did we get a new director yet?
I believe so. Is it all finalized? I think we'll be able to report more on that next time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Dean?
I don't have anything new to offer, Your Honor.
Lindsay?
Last week I attended a pause meeting. We're still just finalizing everything for the Haws and Pearls event on September 11th. Tickets are still available for sale. I attended the senior endowment meeting with Mia, and I'm happy to hear that those funds are coming in. And I went to the dedication for the Veterans Memorial at Fort Washakie. They did a really great job with that. My father-in-law helped with the design of the memorial, and so our family was there for that, but it was a really great ceremony. So there's a reorganization meeting for Little League next week on Wednesday, the 26th, or the 25th, for new board members. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mike?
I had no meetings since we met last. Airport board this Friday got canceled, so it got moved over, so.
Carla?
Your Honor, excuse me, I do bring greetings from the Community Engagement Committee.
Good.
Tomorrow night, they're going to be helping with the ice cream social for the Boys and Girls Club. It's at Rendezvous Elementary from 5:30 to 7:30. They also wanted me to mention the movie night that they're going to be having the 27th at J.C. Park. They have a big blow-up screen, and they're going to be showing Scoob is the movie, so hopefully everybody can go to that. And the rec board does not meet this time, so they haven't met yet this month.
Super. The movie night is what night?
The 27th, it's Friday night, the first week of school. So little celebration for the kiddos after they go back.
And that's going to start at what time? Dark?
Yes.
Dark? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Tony?
Thank you, Your Honor. As the mayor talked about previously, when we came back from WAM, I will be sitting as the new representative to the Legislative Leadership Committee for WAM. That'll give us kind of a bit of an inside track for legislative items. Joel Highsmith had been doing a really, really good job on that, and I'm looking forward to trying to be part of that. So that will meet this coming Thursday. We do phone calls on that monthly, early in the morning, so everybody can be on it. And it actually works out real well, starting to get all that information to flow in. If anybody has questions about legislative items or thoughts, happy to hear them. Please let me know. If you want to know if something is coming, I'll do my best to ask those questions. EDGE will meet on the 26th. We do have 6 applications to review. Those individual applicants have been invited as well to present and answer questions, streamlining that process just a hair. RECDA We'll meet on the 25th at 7 a.m. That's an open meeting to the community. That's always at the Sundowner as well, 7 a.m. FCAG is scheduled for the 26th here in Riverton in the afternoon. We've already talked about the Boys and Girls Club tomorrow evening. Looking forward to that. And Airport Board is canceled. We attended a number of meetings, but with the mayor and a number, I'll let him go through those. Your Honor, I'd have nothing additional. I'm happy to answer any questions, though.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your accompaniment in all those things. I have a fun weed story. We went down to radio a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and we came out and Tony mentioned that he was going to go across the street and get some weeds from the Family Dollar. And so we both carry shovels in our trucks so we can chop at weeds. And so while he was doing that, I worked on the radio station's weeds. And I might add that the neighbor noticed to the east of the radio station, he came out and cut the weeds on Pershing. And so on my way back to the office, to my office, I was going down Main Street, and I could see down to Traveling Computers, and there was this old man with a cane, and he was bending over, and he'd been pulling weeds, and you could see the trail of weeds that he'd pulled from Enberg Miller down. I thought, that'd be nice of me to pull over and thank him for pulling those weeds, and so I did, and it came to, after our discussion, that he was Steve Wonder, and he lives here in Riverton. He's a classmate of many of us who went through school, and so we talked for quite a while, and there in front of Traveling Computers, and it was just enjoyable that he would take the time to try to help us with weeds. I tell that story because twice since last council, I have had deep discussions with citizens about how bad the weed problems are. I do appreciate those facilities that are working on their weeds. Tony tells me that weed notices have gone out in excess of 90-plus letters. We are going to step that up and move to a fining situation if people won't cut their weeds. And so those letters have to go out, and it's a process that takes time. And so it can't just happen overnight, but I realized last night as I was coming home from the mayor's office hours, all the weeds have been cut off of Big O's lot. And as I went down to Monroe, I saw this trailer stacked with weeds, and that was the gentleman that cut the weeds off of the Big O lot. And so I appreciate all the efforts that are being done with that, and I would encourage anyone that has a moment as you're walking down the street, pull a weed or two. Steve does, I do, Tony does, and so join the crowd, and it's a big opportunity. There's plenty of weeds to go around, so don't feel like you're left out, okay? We went to an ambassadors meeting, which I really do appreciate, what the ambassadors do, the Riverton ambassadors, and in that meeting was a gentleman from the Modelers Park. The Modelers Park is going to have to change its location, and anything that's left on that location after the end of September will become the property of the LLC that runs that project. And so they're working really hard to get what assets they can move, but the crisis that they have is they don't have a place to move to. And so as I was coming back into town last Friday, I looked over across from the weather station and the big gravel pit that's there. I wondered if that was Rick Gilpatrick's, and so I called Rick and Josephine Gilpatrick and had a conversation with them, and they were leaving town, but they said they would get back to me, and they did last Friday. we met with 7 other individuals from the Modelers Park, and they offered them a piece of property up there that would work really well for the Modelers Park. And as we sat there and were having the discussion at length, it's a 10-acre parcel of ground, which is large, and they were hoping for a 20-acre section of ground, which was even larger. And we were talking about all the rules, and we were lucky enough to have Paul Griffin from the airport showed up. And Paul was really helpful in showing us all the things of where the airport laid and the rules that apply to the airport. And as we were doing that, a helicopter came in from the east and flew right over the top of us. And one of the questions was, will we be in the airspace of airplanes? And they had pointed out that the modelers can't go higher than 400 feet, and the airplanes have to get higher than 400 feet as they're coming off the runways. And so this helicopter was at, we presume, 400 plus feet in the air. And it was just a really good opportunity. The beauties of what Mr. Gilpatrick is offering to them is an established road, an established locked gate entry area, and electricity to the location. And so I think that's going to work, and we'll keep you advised. And there'll be another MOU that comes through, I'm sure, just like the one we talked about tonight. And we're fortunate to get all that stuff put together. I appreciate the efforts of Rick and Josephine Gilpatrick for their willingness to help as quickly as they did. And that's what the ambassadors brings to us. It's not something that is easily solved, but we don't know, we can't go to work on it until we have the conversation. And we really do appreciate that opportunity for people in the community to bring their problems into that room and try to find solutions. Another really enjoyable thing that took place was Sleep in Heavenly Peace that the Kiwanis brought to town, and Mia was a big part of that. Mia Harris, that she had to work really hard to get me checked in. I was so difficult to get cleared, and she was kind enough to get it done. But they built, the people of Riverton, they're about I got an email back from the organizers, which was really nice. And they said that we built 41 beds, and we stayed right on time. We started at 8, and we were done by about 8:15. And Kristen was there, and she was doing a ton of sanding, and she could hardly move the next day, right?
Just my
Picked up her
hands are a little
arthritis. And so I got to work on the headboards, and Ernie came and took pictures of us, and there was Tom Axtelm and Josh, what's that? Fredrickson, yeah. And they were just, you know, the list of people that were there was extensive. And they said there were 60 volunteers. And I think that there was more than that. At least it seemed like there were more than that. And they had just a really good product to put together, and it was easy to do. And it was really gratifying to know that we were helping kids get beds. And so, Mia, could you give us some details on, we can donate, if anybody in the community would like to donate, $250, it buys a single bed, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Anybody can donate whatever they would like, but Sleep in Heavenly Peace suggests a guideline of $250 to purchase a bed. You don't purchase, you purchase the materials for the beds to be donated. We also are still in need of donated bedding. It does require that the bedding is brand new, twin-sized beds. We've got a little bit of a shortage on comforters right now. So if anybody would like to donate comforters, they can always drop them off here by City Hall. And I want to thank you, Mayor and Kristen Watson, and all of the volunteers for your time. It really was a very nice event, and it can't be done without the group effort of our community. So we had a very splendid turnout. I was very pleasantly surprised, so it was good.
It was real enjoyable, and I really commend the Kiwanis for what they do, and all our service groups do just a wonderful job, and we're so fortunate to have them, and this is one of the things that presents itself, and they stained the beds and stacked them up to dry, and they used vinegar and steel wool for a finishing project. And the steel wool dissolved into the vinegar and made a kind of a brownish tint, and was amazing. You know, it was just a great idea. Whoever thought of that, I think it's a national organization, but it's the Wyoming director is out of Worland.
Yes, there's a Warland chapter. I believe there's one in Cheyenne and maybe Rock Springs. But so far, Riverton, and the beds do stay in Riverton, we've delivered over 45 beds already, and then we built another 41. And Saturday, that day, we also did bed deliveries that day as well. So
I saw that on Facebook, a post, or maybe it wasn't Facebook, but that you were all took a picture in somebody's house, and
yes.
and that was appreciated that it gets to the right spot. So thank you for doing that. And then today, Tony and I got to go to the Shoshone Rose Casino on assignment. Anybody think we were spending any money there? But we got to meet with the tribal leaders of the Shoshone tribe, and had a real constructive meeting, and we're trying to start dialogue with both tribes, and we appreciate their services and what they do for us and what we can do for them. And so it was an interesting meeting. Took about 2 hours, and so we look forward to future growth with that also. So those are the things that I was involved with, and I really do appreciate staff. It's amazing how many times I bump into staff doing great things when it needs to be done. The weeds are dropping. I know that Kyle has put a special effort on that, and South Federal doesn't look as good as it should, and so we're working on that. So any suggestions? Anybody see a place that we could work harder at that? If you'd give us a contact, I would appreciate it. We do have an executive session for personnel. The chair would entertain a motion to convene into executive session for the purpose of personnel, considering the appointment, employment, right of practice, dismissal, complaints or charges against the public officer or professional person or employees in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405 AII, and for the purpose of considering offering tenured wages, salaries, benefits, or terms of employment during negotiation in accordance with Wyoming State Statute 16-4-405 AX.
Moved.
Second.
Councilman Paranto has the motion. Councilwoman Borders has the second. Any discussion? Tony, do we get you and Kristen?
Yes, thank you.
So Tony and Kristen will go with us into executive. So, Chris,
I thought we had to go out of executive session.
Yes,
We're out.
There's,
Kristen,
Your Honor, we need to entertain a motion to reconvene into regular session.
do I have that on the script?
No, it's missing. I
Okay.
apologize.
So I need a motion to reconvene regular
So moved.
council session.
Second.
By Councilman Bailey. And Lindsay has the second. And then, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. So we're back in regular session, and then I can ask for consent, do we have consent to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes.
So we adjourn at 9:32. Thank you.